Welcome to Office Hours. I am Steve Drost. With me, as always, is Will Kaplan. Of course, Will and I are both from the Quivr CRM team, where our mission is very, very simple. How can we help advisors run their firm at peak efficiency? And now each episode of Office Hours, we answer a few questions that came from our users who are trying to do just that, make their lives just a little bit easier. Will, we had a topic come up from a user of a mid-sized RIA not too long ago, and it was about managing employees. And it wasn't, HR stuff, their salaries, their bonuses, that kind of stuff, but it was more of the softer things, right? Their birth dates, that stuff. And I'll be honest, when we were talking about it, it was a little hard for me to connect because my employee is my mother. And growing up, my garage code was her birthday. So I'll never forget my mother's birthday, not only because of the garage code, but because, of course, I'm a good son, right? But it definitely introduced maybe an interesting spin to data that we want to manage and data we want to act on. And it's kind of cool because honestly, that fits right into the Quivr ecosystem. And you can pretty much do anything that you want with just a couple of maybe custom fields or new tags. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And what I love about this is, we talk a lot about trying to get people sort of up onto the plateau and give you to where you understand like a tool set. And this is very much like, I've got this tool for how I do this with my clients. I can kind of use the same tool to do it for my employees. And I think that's like, I love when stuff like this happens where you have this sort of, oh, I just need to tweak this process a little bit. And then I've got something that's going to be functional for me here on the other side. And I agree with you. Like the mid-sized firms, the larger firms, that's probably where most of this is really going to shine just because there's more people to be keeping track of. There's, it's not just as easy as like, I'm going to throw Steve's birthday on the calendar and I'll throw, Ryan and Ashley and Katrina's birthday on the calendar and we can manage all that. This is for those, larger firms where you do have more of those dates. And you have, how do I actually manage all this? How do I keep all of this, easily for me to get to, but then reporting and like making sure I don't miss anything. It's the same stuff we do for our clients, right? It's just doing it in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through a little bit about, sort of how, where we see a lot of, common use for this? I mean, the big ones that to me are, obviously birthdays are important. I think one of the ones that might be a little bit of a sleeper would be when your registration comes up or when your CE comes up and things like that, just to be, hey, I want to make sure we're catching all of this. Are there any that you have in the back of your head that are, hey, this would be a good one to add to that list as well?
Maybe work anniversary. I know my wife loves it because on her anniversary at work, she always gets flowers and she loves that. So maybe things like that, work anniversary. Yeah, birthday I think is good. I think the CE, things like that, I think that's super powerful. Yeah, I mean, let's just start with that, right? Let's just start with those three things: actual birthday, work anniversary, and then tracking CE and registrations and things. I mean, what would be a really easy way to do this is you can just add your employees maybe as contacts within the firm record, right? They're just COI contacts, right? Remember, Quivr's definition of COI is not necessarily just an accountant. It is anybody that helps you serve your clients, right? It's clients and prospects and then everybody else more or less. So you can just create that contact, maybe create a custom field for work anniversary. We already have the birth date field for contacts. So that's not new. It could be maybe a couple of checkbox fields for, do you have a CFP, a CFA, BFA, CLU, any of those credentials maybe that needs CE. You could kick that off. Maybe have another field next to it that says what, are you odd or even, right? Because CFP, for example, is every other year. So maybe half your advisors, this isn't their year, but half of them it is next, however that might work. And yeah, just make those fields. I mean, you could probably make those fields in 5 to 7 minutes.
Easy.
If that, get those fields populated. And then, I mean, we got to keep going. Automate the heck out of it, right? Use Archr. Tell me when it's a client an employee birthday, which is different than a client birthday, right? It's different. I don't know if I necessarily want the employees, if they're a client of the firm, right? Do you want just the advisor calling them and saying happy birthday or walking to the cube? No, you might want it to go to HR or whomever would be responsible for, ordering a cake or whatever you want to.
I was going to say, somebody has to order that ice cream cake.
Somebody does. One of my favorite episodes of The Office, and I can say this because we're an office themed demo environment, right? Is when Dwight Schrute's in charge of the birthday and it says, it is your birthday, period, right? Who's going to make the poster telling everybody that it is their birthday, right? You got to make sure it's a statement of fact. CE, I think that's super important. I have an automation that tells me when I have to do my CFP CE, my IAR 12 hours CE, all that fun stuff. And again, when it's just a couple of people in the firm, maybe you can keep it all in your head. But I mean, imagine you have 50 employees and 15 advisors. Like that's like 150 things, 200 things.
Well, and certainly, I mean, as these firms start to get larger, you're gonna have someone that is overseeing that compliance process for all the advisors, and for them to be able to have kind of a calendar of when is all this due for these individuals and what do I need to be like, you're gonna want something like that. So I certainly think that putting the dates in there about, because now we're in a place where if just because you work for a firm doesn't mean you live in the same place. And so, the states are getting involved. So like, Oregon had state required seat that didn't apply to people in other jurisdictions. And so that's something where like the complexity, especially around tracking that CD, I think is significant enough at this point. And the stakes are, certainly important enough that you're gonna want to have some way to audit that and to track all that.
Yeah, but I think the coolest part of this conversation is, yeah, it's a completely different data set, completely different concept, completely different business case, business function that you're trying to solve. But Quiver, we really are. I like how you say it. We're a platform, not a system. And how can you take that platform and apply various cases, various issues, problems, challenges to the same piece of software? So you're running all of this in one spot. And we talk about it a lot. Once some of these features click for our users, it's just wash, rinse, repeat. I have problem. I build workflow. I build automation, right? I have custom field or updated field to tell me when automation happens. Boom.
Well, and that's what's so great about this too is like we have a birthday card building block and we have a birthday card process already in the system. You can import those, slightly edit them because again, that's just looking at a contact birth date and then running some type of a automation around that. And so this is the same thing. It's literally like all of that skeletal framework is there. You just have to, change out, oh, this is a employee birthday, not a contact birthday. This is a CE anniversary, not a client anniversary. Like all of it is working the same way. It's doing the same stuff. It's just what actually fires and what is my trigger? Is it a birthday or no, it's this anniversary date. It's the CE date. Like it's the exact same. All of the what's happening in the background is identical. Like you've already learned this skill. We just need to apply it to a different set of input data. And I think that's what's really cool about this is once you learn like just that little bit of like, oh, here's how this birthday thing works. Well, now I've got 15, 20, 25 different ways to use that exact same skill for all of this other data. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's addicting as well because it just clicks and it's, ooh, I don't have to manually remember this anymore. But but no, I mean, it's a good topic. I love it. That's why I like talking to our users and honestly just hearing what they're working on and where their mind's going. But that's a wrap. Good stuff as always. If you are a Quiver user, remember, join us on Wednesdays for office hours where we can help you with similar items, right? And more often than not, the answer to a lot of the philosophical questions is just conceptualizing with you how that issue or how that problem or how that challenge fits into the Quiver ecosystem that you most likely already understand. And if you don't understand it, ask questions. We'll send you videos, master classes, you name it. And if you're not a Quiver user, that is okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. But remember, it's not too late. Come schedule a demo. Come hang out with me. Come hang out with Will and see what Quiver can do for you and for your practice.